we are talking again about the nth root of a, and we already said that that is equivalent to a raised to the 1 over n. Take a look at what we're looking at now. A raised to the m over n. If we change that 1 to an m, what we're doing is raising to the mth power. So the nth root of a raised to the mth is a to the m over n. It's kind of a mouthful. So a to the m over n, the denominator of the fraction is always the index of the radical. The numerator of that fraction is then the exponent outside of that radical. Then thinking back to the last 2 days, negative exponents move. So this becomes 1 over a raised to the m over n. So this is 1 over the nth root of a raised to the mth. Ugh. Darn computer. There. So, in the next few examples, they want us to rewrite. We are currently in radical form. We need to rewrite it as a rational exponent. So the index of the radical is the denominator of the fraction. So 8 raised to the 3/4. Try number 10 on your own. So 45, is it going to be 2/3 or 3/2? 2/3, the 3 goes on the bottom. Okay, the other direction, 88 raised to the 2/3. The denominator of the fraction has to be the index of the radical. So the third root of 88 raised to the second. Try number 12 on your own. The denominator of the fraction has to be your index. So the third root of 54 raised to the 4th. Okay, evaluate the expression without using a calculator. Now, technically you could use a calculator, and on a test, if I tell you evaluate without using a calculator, I really can't control whether you do or do not. But I will tell you it's way easier to do this using your perfects chart than it is using your calculator. So the first one's pretty easy, the 4th root of 81. We've already done that a couple times. Look at your perfects chart. In the 4ths column, find 81. The 4th root of 81 is plus or minus 3. Because it's an even index, your answers are both positive and negative. Number 14 is a 2-part problem. Start by doing the third root of negative 8. What is the third root of negative 8? Negative 2. Negative 2 raised to the 5th. For now, look at 2 raised to the 5th. What is 2 raised to the 5th? 32. And because it's negative 2 to the 5th, that means negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. That's 5 negatives. Are 5 negatives going to completely cancel out? No. An odd number of negatives doesn't cancel, so your answer is negative 32. If it had happened to be the third root of negative 8 raised to the 4th, you would have had negative 2 to the 4th. That would be 4 negatives, which would cancel out completely, and your answer would be positive 16. So if you're taking a negative number raised to an exponent, think about how many times am I multiplying this? How many negatives is that? Would those negatives cancel? Number 15 is a little weird. 49 to the 1/2. Negative 49 to the 1/2. We would do the square root of 49. What is the square root of 49? Normally we would say positive or negative 7, but by putting that negative in front, they're saying we definitely want negative 7. Okay, turn the page. There are 2 more examples. 3,125 raised to the 2/5. The easiest way to do this without using your calculator is to change this into radical form. So the 5th root of 3125 raised to the 2nd. I had a student in a class earlier today who said, man, I really wish I had like a digital copy of this perfects chart so I could just do Control F to find this number on the chart. What that student didn't realize was the index tells you where to look on the chart to find that number. So go to the 5th column, scan through the 5th column until you find 3125, and the 5th root of 3125 is 5. And then square 5, 25. Number 17, negative exponent. The first thing you should do when you see that negative exponent is move 64 to the 2/3 to the bottom of the fraction. Then you can change it into radical form. Okay, leave this all in the denominator. What is the 3rd root of 64? 4. And then square your 4. 16, 1/16. If you were to punch this into your calculator, 64 raised to the negative 2/3, you'd get some decimal. And if you didn't know to change that decimal back to a fraction, you would never know that the answer was 1/16. So by using the negative exponent property, changing it to radical form, and then using your perfects chart, you can get the answer without having to punch it into your calculator, without having to change it back to a fraction. Your assignment today is on page 241 in your textbook. Make sure you have an Algebra 2 textbook. 6 through 18 even, and 26 through 32 even.